In the year 2053, after the last Great War, the crime rate skyrocketed by more than 800%, overwhelming the entire prison system. To handle the crisis, the government introduces the box rehabilitation program, something that in earlier times would have been considered cruel and inhumane. Under this new system, convicts are given two choices: volunteer for immediate execution or serve their entire sentence sealed inside a metal box. Their food and water are provided only if the lawful citizens they wronged decide they deserve it. Anyone attempting to escape is instantly terminated. Inside one of these boxes, a French woman struggles to survive while covered in wounds. Her sentence is 4 years long, with just over 2 years remaining. When she checks her pot, it's dry, no water left. She opens the hatch, expecting food, but instead finds a razor. After a long moment of hesitation, she finally gives up and ends her own life. On a rocky island near the Australian coast, numerous such boxes are scattered by the shore. One afternoon, two children are playing nearby and toss a rubber band ball that accidentally hits one of the boxes, waking the woman trapped inside. This is prisoner 13. She discovers her hands and legs are bound, so she gnaws at the ropes until she manages to free herself. Her sentence is 7 years, and today marks her very first day. Suddenly, a light on the wall beeps, and a small hatch slides open. 13 peers outside and spots the kids walking away. Moments later, the light flashes again, and the hatch closes. As she pleads for freedom, a screen on the wall turns on, playing a pre-recorded video explaining the program's rules and reminding her that she's exactly where she chose to be. Overwhelmed, 13 has a breakdown, slamming her fists against the walls and screaming that she's innocent until she collapses from exhaustion. Sometime later, the hatch opens again. Hopeful, 13 pushes her pot out for food, but nothing arrives. Desperate, she begins inspecting every inch of the metal walls, searching for any weakness or exit. When she keeps her hand pressed too long against one section, she receives a mild electric shock. Still, she doesn't stop, continuing to examine her prison until there's nothing left to check. Hours pass, and isolation begins to eat away at her mind. Out of boredom and frustration, she starts scratching the box walls with her fingernails just to have something to do. In another box elsewhere, a different prisoner wakes up. She has been sentenced to 2 years and still has over 500 days remaining. Occasionally, a mysterious voice asks if she's still alive. One night, she tries tampering with the light panel, but a camera inside immediately catches her. An alarm blares, and a mechanical voice announces imminent extermination as metal rods begin descending from the ceiling. Terrified, she screams for help through the hatch, but no one comes. The rods stop just inches from her face as the system glitches. For a brief moment, she believes she's been spared, until the malfunction corrects itself and the rods finish lowering, crushing her to death. The following morning, 13 continues her meticulous search for weaknesses but still finds nothing useful. When it starts to rain, she places her pot under the open hatch to collect water and finally quenches her thirst. Later, while resting, she hears a voice calling her. A young girl appears at the hatch and asks about her sentence. Upon hearing it's 7 years, the girl assumes 13 must be a political prisoner. She fills 13's pot with clean water and drops in a small bag of food pellets, which 13 devours immediately. The girl then reminds her that the fate of each prisoner lies entirely in the hands of the citizens. 13 insists she's innocent, but the girl doesn't care and leaves. As days turn into weeks, 13 feels her sanity unraveling. Unable to bear the loneliness, she ties the rope around her neck and tries to hang herself. For several suffocating seconds, she can't breathe, but her body instinctively lets go before she dies. She collapses, sobbing, furious that she can't even control her own death. Months pass. 13 remains alive, trapped in her metal cell. One day she receives a small batch of seeds wrapped in newspaper. She plants them in her bowl and holds the paper up near the hatch to catch the sunlight. The articles are written in a language she can't understand, which only makes her cry harder. She feels like she's being tortured. Later, she extends her arm through the hatch, fumbling around until she finds the rubber band ball the kids once threw. It becomes her only source of distraction. Time drags on endlessly with the same monotonous routine. 13 sleeps, plays with the ball, and waits for the hatch to open so she can glimpse daylight. New wounds begin appearing on her skin, growing worse every day. Meanwhile, in another box, a man serving a 5-year sentence has already endured over 1,000 days. He's a hollow shell now, muttering the same mantra again and again, "I am where I choose to be." One afternoon, a drone lifts 13's box and relocates it to a forest filled with other prisoners. The same young girl returns and asks what she's doing. 13 replies that she's rehabilitating. The girl mentions she's been secretly reading Shakespeare, whose works are banned. 13 admits she's unfamiliar with the name but adds that she knows how to read, just not allowed to in her cell. The girl argues that rehabilitation without literature is meaningless. She reaches into the hatch and gently holds 13's hand, quoting a line from Romeo and Juliet. 13 finds it beautiful and wishes she could read it someday. The girl offers to lend her the book, but 13 declines, afraid of punishment. The girl instead gives her some food and promises to return and read to her. After she leaves, 13 can't stop thinking about her voice, her touch, her lips, until her loneliness drives her to touch herself while the surveillance camera records everything. A year after her imprisonment began, 13 finds a tiny book hidden inside a new bag of seeds. She lies down, turning away from the camera, and opens it. To her surprise, it's Romeo and Juliet. The poetic words bring her a spark of hope. The next time she receives water, she washes herself carefully, cleaning her wounds to avoid infection. The pain is intense, but she endures it, throwing the dirty water out afterward. Unfortunately, the monitoring system flags this as wasting resources. As punishment, her box is transported back to the coast. Some time later, the girl visits again and notices the relocation. Curious, she asks what 13 did to deserve it, but 13 dodges the question and instead asks how the girl decides who gets food. The girl explains she walks among the boxes and speaks with as many prisoners as she can before deciding. A storm seems to be approaching, so she cuts the visit short. 13 also asks the girl's age and learns she's 16, remarking that she reminds her of her late sister. Weeks pass, and 13 now speaks only to her secret book. She hides it in a small crack inside the wall and takes it out carefully whenever she wants to read a quote, always making sure her back is to the camera. Sometimes she's so desperate to read that she depends on faint moonlight when there's no sun. One day, a drone relocates her box again, this time over the ocean. After landing, a man appears at the hatch, taunting her while eating an apple. 13 begs for a single bite, pleading for mercy. The man sneers, saying none of the animals inside these boxes deserve compassion. If it were up to him, every prisoner would be executed instead of rehabilitated. After some back and forth, he makes her an indecent offer. She can have the apple if she lets him use her body. Starving and desperate, 13 reluctantly agrees, pressing her body against the hatch. In the middle of the act, a patrol drone spots them and opens fire. The man is killed instantly, but one bullet pierces the box, wounding 13's leg. Despite the agony, she reaches outside, grabs the apple, and devours it hungrily, only to realize it's full of worms. Disgusted, she vomits. That night, a deafening alarm wakes her. A voice announces that trading sexual favors for food violates the rules, and punishment will follow, 7 days of forced insomnia. She's warned this is her final chance. Next violation means death. A blinding light switches on inside the box, and the alarm never stops ringing. For 7 endless days, 13 cannot sleep. She covers her eyes and ears with her shirt, but it's useless. Whenever she thinks the alarm has stopped and tries to rest, it starts again. Her mind begins to unravel. During that torturous week, 13 completes 2 full years inside the box. Some time later, 13 notices the silhouettes of people living freely outside her box, laughing, walking, enjoying life. Suddenly, the mechanical voice announces that her conviction has been deemed wrongful and that the citizens have voted for her release. A beautiful woman's face appears in the hatch and somehow steps into the box. At first, 13 is stunned. The woman looks strangely familiar, though she can't quite place her. The visitor sits elegantly on a couch, sipping from a teacup, and calmly tells her that none of this is real. It's merely a hallucination brought on by deprivation. She explains that 13 is not being released and that she, the beautiful woman, is actually what 13 looked like before her capture. The illusionary version of herself explains how the human mind can create wild delusions to cope with torment. She laughs hysterically as 13 weeps in anguish. When the voice finally announces the end of her punishment, the vision fades, leaving 13 alone, traumatized, and utterly drained. A few nights later, she sees colorful fireworks through the hatch. The voice declares that it's New Year's Eve and that the citizens have granted amnesty to all box prisoners, except those convicted of political crimes. That means 13 is excluded. Over the following days, her health worsens, and she realizes she's beginning to lose her teeth. One morning, an old woman appears outside her box, tapping the wall with a rusty razor. She introduces herself, explaining that she spent 15 years locked inside one of these boxes and that the experience shaped her into who she is now, though she admits she despises the person she's become. She slides the razor through the hatch, gifting it to 13 before walking away. 13 stares at the blade resting against her skin but can't bring herself to use it. Eventually, the girl who loves Shakespeare returns. It takes 13 a few moments to realize she's real and not another hallucination. The girl fills her pot with fresh water and gently takes her hand, quoting from Romeo and Juliet. This time, 13 is able to finish the line herself. Months pass, and 13's belly swells. She's pregnant from her assault by the Apple Man. When the girl visits again, she confides that her group wants to rescue 13 and allow her to serve the remainder of her sentence in their care. But her words trigger the system's alarm, and the hatch slams shut. The girl runs away as 13 screams desperately, realizing her only chance at escape is gone. Weeks later, another man appears at the hatch. He notices her pregnancy and comments that she still has 4 years left on her sentence. He gestures toward a burning box in the distance and says that if she recognized mercy, she would wish for a quick death. He offers her that mercy, but 13 refuses. Later, she notices water dripping from the ceiling and discovers a loose screw. She removes it and uses it to file her nails before dropping it again. Then she starts scratching around the hole, hoping to widen it enough to escape. Months go by, and one day 13 feels sharp contractions. She kneels on the floor and pushes with all her strength until the baby is born. Cradling her newborn, she bites through the umbilical cord with her teeth. Immediately, the alarm goes off. The system declares that she has violated another rule by bringing a second life into the box. Termination is now authorized. A gas fills the chamber, knocking her unconscious. When she wakes, her baby is gone. 13 screams in agony, sobbing uncontrollably and begging to have her child returned. Years pass, for in total, as she remains trapped, broken, and alone, a violent storm strikes the island, and enormous waves crash against the coast. The hole she carved earlier allows seawater to seep in, short-circuiting the electrical system. As she reaches outside to feel for something useful, the glitching system slams the hatch shut on her arm. She shrieks in pain, pulling frantically until the mechanism reopens, leaving her arm mangled and broken. Time drags on. One day, she spots a small bug crawling across the floor. Without hesitation, she stomps on it, picks it up, and eats it, gagging as she swallows. The water continues to flood in, so she collects some in her pot, but soon, the entire box begins filling up. Despite the rising water, she still tries to read her precious book, clinging to the last traces of hope. Eventually, the water level rises so high that she can barely stand. The system detects unauthorized interference and announces imminent extermination. As 13 struggles to stay afloat, a drone appears overhead to retrieve her box. But as it flies through the storm, lightning strikes it. The drone explodes and crashes into the ground, sending 13's box tumbling into the ocean. By morning, the waves carry the box ashore. 3 young people playing nearby notice it washed up on the sand, followed by 13 herself, barely alive, but they ignore her completely and walk away.